Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Authentically Inspired Podcast. Today, I'm joined by the amazing Laura Lake. Laura Lake likes to describe herself as a playful, luminary changemaker who loves hiking, deep conversations, and nerdy cosplay. She is an international #1 bestselling author, speaker, and courageous client connection coach. She's on a heart-centered, mission-driven solopreneurs hire Laura to help them confidently show up and courageously connect with their audience. If you want more engagement, reach, and trust, Laura is your coach for building those deeper, more transformational relationships faster. Welcome to the show, Laura. I'm so happy to finally get you on here. I feel like it's been a long time coming, so welcome to the show.
Ooh, I have a little gift for you since you said nerdy cosplay. For those of you who get to watch me via the video, I just put on a Mario hat that I made. This is
That's
part
amazing.
of one of my many nerdy cosplays.
That's amazing. I loved Mario growing up. It was like the quintessential first video game that I actually started playing. So like Mario's got like a space in my heart and always will.
Well, then remind me later to show you my 1980s version of Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh my goodness. That's wild.
Yeah.
So Laura, how did you get started in this business? Like tell us a little bit about where you kind of started and how you got to where you are now.
Oh, okay. So my dream as a kid was very much in the architecture field. I didn't understand what that was, but that's what I had pursued until I went to my very first camp, which was a science and entrepreneurship camp. I was like, what is entrepreneurship? I don't even know what the term means, but it means I get to be my own boss. Cool. Let's do that in architecture at the same time. So that was always my dream. And I had gone to university and college and gotten into the architecture field where the work that I did was always based on sustainability and community-based buildings. So it was taking in a lot of different lifestyles and functions to have a similar way that you use the space, right? So having to take in all these different perspectives. But I take that sustainability background and the environmental psychology part of it, and I brought it into health coaching on the side because I was going through my own struggles there as well. So I was coaching all my friends for free, right? For like the longest time ever. And when I got laid off and I was kind of forced into starting my own business, I was like, what am I going to do? So I started off with the architecture and realized that what I was actually doing was helping people with their habits, which is what I did for active design and well design and all of that kind of stuff before. But then as I got deeper and deeper into the space, I realized that, my own mental health issues were not just me. It was all of these other entrepreneurs who were suffering from depression and anxiety and PTSD and all those things I don't really want to talk about. But even before the pandemic, it was 1 in 2 entrepreneurs that suffered from mental health issues. I know. So just imagine what that number is now. And I watched a lot of the people that I admired stepping back during that time. So I shifted and niched my audience again to be those people with the missions to change the world. And instead of watching them step back, I want to see them step forward. And that takes courage and that takes confidence. So that's what I'm helping people do now. Long about way.
I love that. Like that resonates with me so much because even thinking about like my own journey toward becoming an entrepreneur and, starting off with the kind of like the side hustle, as many people say, and kind of building that out. Like there's so many times when we get into that space of even just feeling depressed, feeling down, thinking, is it all worth it? And for me, a big part of that was creating those habits day in and day out, right? Like we are habitual driven creatures by nature. Like we have to create habits to create anything worthwhile in our life. So Laura, tell us a little bit about how you go about creating habits and why you think it's so important.
Ooh, okay. I could talk about that for days. Okay. So habits really are just things that we do consistently, but I'm going to break it down into many different little areas and I'm going to try to make it short and sweet. So we think that habits are something that we consciously choose. while part of that is true, we really have to work with the subconscious mind, which is where I have lots of experience healing mental health and, learning mental health, all of that. But then the other side of it is there are three main aspects to habits. There's the cue or trigger, depending on who you are, you might like different words. There's the action that you take, and then the result that you have. So we try to change habits through conscious thought by changing, usually, we try to change all three things all at once. And no wonder we get overwhelmed and we just fail miserably. Insert, New Year's resolutions. But when we take the time to say, who am I now? Who do I want to be? What are my beliefs behind my actions I'm already taking? And how can I work on those while choosing one of those three to shift, have that consistency, build that rapport and that self-trust, which is so important, and self-awareness to actually take the next step and move forward.
Yeah, I love that, because I know for me, even when I first started kind of building up my habits, I was like, I'm just going to do everything at once. It's like, this is what the habit I want to change. I'm just going to go at it full force. And next thing you know, kind of like those New Year's resolutions, it got washed away, but after about 14 days of saying I'm going to do something. It's like that perpetual thing that I used to always do when I was like, I'm going to start exercising. And I'd be like, okay, come Monday, I'm going to exercise. And Monday would come, I'd be like, okay, next Monday I'll start, because I missed Monday and I'm not going to start on a Tuesday because then that would ruin my whole workout routine. So next Monday, but then next Monday comes and again, nothing happens. So it's like trying to build that habit can be so difficult, and I get it. So if you're out there listening and you're someone who has been trying to build the habits and you just can't get it, Laura's here to help you with that, which is awesome.
I just want to show you a little chart that I made specifically for New Year's resolutions. And I know our listeners can't see it. I'll explain it. Don't worry. But I made this chart, and it has day 1 through day 21. So 3 weeks. This is the lowest number I've heard for you can change your habits in 21 days. No. Okay. But let's start there. Sure. Current you may be putting in just random effort, but usually no effort. You at New Year's, you start out really good, usually for the first 14 days, maybe if you make it that far. And then consistent you, who isn't at your max, but like hovering around 3/4-ish for most of it. Sometimes you have a bad day and it's half. I worked out the numbers over that 21-day period. If we just look at percentage of effort ranging from 0 to 100, current you with the sporadic stuff is about 320 out of 2100 potential percentage, right? Okay. Not a whole lot. You at New Year's, you start off really strong. You're badass, right? Okay. That's got to count for something. It's got to be way beyond. Okay. Now we're at 800% effort out of 2100% effort. A little better. It's like double, right? Not too bad, but consistent you at, I think it's, anywhere from 50 to 80% effort is 1,370 out of 2,100.
Wow.
Huge difference.
Definitely.
Huge difference. So it's not about putting in those huge efforts. It's about being consistent with the efforts that you choose to put in.
Yes. And I love that. Consistency is key, creating that consistency. Like if you just show up every single day and just do something towards your goal. Like for example, today when I was recording this, I'm on a pretty tight workout regimen. And, I was sitting there today, I was like, I really don't want to work out, but I was like, I have to, it's part of my routine now. I've built the habit in. So I always say, like, even if it's, half effort, at least doing something is better than doing nothing. And by being consistent with it, I create that ideal end result. So for me, when I look at my habits, I always say, okay, what's the end result I'm trying to get? And with me, it was, before pre-COVID, it was getting back down to like my high school weight, which was about 160 pounds. And I've reached that goal over the course of a year, just consistently showing up and exercising. And was it hard at first? Yes, it was so hard. Like it's like, I don't want to get up. I don't want to exercise. I don't want to go for a run. I don't want to lift weights today. But it was just a consistent action. And now I'm in the best shape of my life that I've ever been. So Laura, I think that's really important to have that consistency. And, you just shared the numbers with us, right? Like
Yeah,
the consistent people are more likely to succeed when creating those new habits.
exactly.
So how would you say that you help people make more authentic connections with their audience? So you are a speaker, which is
Ooh,
amazing. Like I'm a speaker
yeah.
as well. I love it. There's nothing better to me than being up on stage and reaching people and inspiring them and making them feel good. So how do you make more authentic connections help people make more authentic connections with their audience?
Oh, yes. I've been on the stage since I was 4 in many different ways. And my God, I can't explain the rush that I get to know that I have an effect on other people, to make them smile and laugh and feel things. But that's exactly what I tie into the work that I do. So I help you confidently show up by understanding who you are as an individual. Our business is not an extension of us, it is an expression of
Mm,
us. Okay, so
love
it is a
that.
separate thing. People can like it or not like it. We don't have to take it personally. And we know that there can be many iterations of it. So by knowing that, I can say, okay, I'm not meant for everybody. You could be the most perfect peach in the world, and you still have a bad taste in my mouth because I don't like peaches. Right? Right? I know. I love these analogies. So then once you feel confident in who you are, that's when we start to work on, okay, well, what is your message? Because it's the message that you're trying to reach out to people that gets people to pay attention. Here's the kicker though. Okay. So most people market to the people who are already aware of what different messages are out there and what they want in life
Mhm.
and how to go about doing it. They just don't have these little pieces. So that's about, if you think of an iceberg, people love that analogy. There's 10%, right, that we can
Yeah.
see, and 90% under the surface that are hiding because
Mhm.
they're afraid, because they don't actually know the right questions to ask. They're looking in the wrong places. They don't know what they don't know, right? So
Yeah.
the courageous part, helping you courageously connect, is about understanding your story that connects to the work that you do. And by talking about those things that were uncomfortable, that had you hiding and not wanting to come out, that's what has at 90% of your clientele come out of hiding and say, oh my God, I'm that little 3-year-old trying to hide, but I'm just doing this with my fingers over my eyes, but the rest of me is out. Or I can see your purple sock from underneath the blanket. Like, I see you. And when they feel seen, they start to go, oh my God, Jacob gets me. Nobody else gets me like Jacob gets me. I'm going to come out of hiding to have that conversation with Jacob. I'm going to come out of hiding knowing that Jacob understands where I'm coming from and how to get out of the woods because I don't know yet. I haven't gotten that far. So I want to help you with that message to not be afraid to say those things, which can feel uncomfortable, but doing it in a way that doesn't dump your trauma on somebody else or have you coming from a place of hurt. It has to come from a place of healing and love.
I love that. And,
Yeah.
recently I've been kind of going on my own healing journey of healing inner wounds and really refining my message down on how I'm going to make a difference and how I can make the biggest impact on the world. And something you said really kind of resonated with me right there. And it was about crafting the message. And that's something that I got so stuck on for so long. It probably took me about 4 years to finally discover what the message was, when in reality, the message was in me the whole time. I just had to be authentic, like you were saying, like just be your authentic you. And, some peaches will be good. Some peaches won't be. Some people won't even like the peaches, but you have to just find your own voice and understand that you are a unique person. You are a unique individual. There's nobody like you on the planet. And you have a mission, you have a vision, you have a purpose here on this earth. And it's your purpose to deliver that message. So if you think that your message isn't good enough, which is something that I struggle with for a really long time, like I was like, nobody wants to hear me. And I got in this perpetual state of just like reverberating what other successful people were saying and
Oh,
saying
yeah.
that must
The
be
copy
my
paste.
message. And it was so bad. But now I've come to get into my truth of saying, okay, I'm authentically me. I'm a nerd.
Oh, yeah.
I
High
love
five.
virtual high five.
Oh, sorry,
I'm,
sci-fi. Yeah,
oh,
sci-fi. That's Spock, but high five.
yeah.
Yeah.
And because of that, I've gotten into this whole new mindset. So what Laura's saying here is, just be authentically you, and the right people will flock to you. Stop hiding behind your fears, your insecurities. And believe me, I know they're there, right? That terror barrier comes up and you're like, I don't know if I want to go to that side,
Yeah.
but you have got to push it. So speaking of fear, Laura, how do you help people overcome their fear? If they're like, I feel like I have a message, but I'm too afraid to say it. How do you help them get over that?
Yeah. People initially come to me because they're like, how do I really connect with my audience? I want to make them clients faster. Okay, cool. But what actually needs to happen, and what the problem actually is that you feel like you're afraid of being seen as weak or unprofessional. You're afraid of that rejection. You're afraid that you are showing up and feeling like an imposter. And this is very common in so many of us. It's because we don't want to look at that part of ourselves, but that's the same part, our mission-driven solopreneurs, right? It's the same part in us that is in our clients. And if we don't want to see ourselves and love our own darkness, we're saying that without saying it to our clients. We don't love that part of you. We don't want to see that part of you. And that stings.
Yeah.
So getting past that fear means we have to do the inner work. I mean, we don't want to, and it can be difficult, but having somebody who has been through it before and has the expertise to guide you through it, because you can't give yourself a back massage. No matter how hard you try, you just can't. Okay. So doing your inner healing work, it's the same thing. You're too in it. You don't see the perspectives and the facets of you that a professional does. Right. So working through your fears is a lot of the inner work. Yeah.
So what kind of advice would you give to someone who's maybe just starting out, who doesn't have the money to hire a coach? Let's say, someone who's like, I'm strapped for cash. I can't hire a coach outside, even though I need one. What can I do kind of just starting by myself?
Ooh, okay. I have two answers for that. One, the internet is full of information. Did you know that? I know, it's like everything is right there.
Crazy.
The
Who would have
problem is
thought?
that is just knowledge. Knowledge is so easy to come by. Understanding is a whole other level, which you need facilitation for in many different ways, right? So go get that information, that knowledge for free on everybody's blogs, on their social media channels, like all of the free training that they're doing. But don't get stuck in the learning, okay? Because that's just knowledge. Moving it forward, there are options. And I have been stuck in that place for so long thinking, I don't have the resources to move up. Oh my God, I know what to do. I know how to do it. I know how to implement. I just don't have the resources to start. So here's what I have to say to you people, including myself, my old self. There are so many government programs for grants, for loans. There are companies out there who just lend you money that are not a bank. They're just individual people who do many different things. And they're like, I'm going to lend money to growing entrepreneurs. And that's their business. That's one of their businesses is I'm going to give you $5,000, no matter what your credit is like, depending on who you're working with. And then you pay them back that amount over whatever your terms that you set together are. Right. So there are many, many options. Plus, my favorite is the really good coaches, the heart-centered ones who are willing to work with people. Just ask them, say, hey, I don't have the funds right now, but this is what I'm comfortable paying. That is not taking food off of my table. And then I'll challenge them and say, can we double it? Does that take food off your table? Because I want them to be uncomfortable. Like there has to be that uncomfortable investment because that makes them work. Yeah. And then working together and saying, okay, you're going to start getting results. And as you get more results, you're going to keep paying me and you can choose to pay me more. Right? There are so many options. Just don't be afraid of asking who you want to work with or asking different people in the federal, provincial, wherever you are, state, right? Any option.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like there's so much free information out there. And I was the same way. Like I remember I got out of college, out of university, and I was broke. Like I couldn't even pay rent. I was like, I was literally at the point of saying, okay, I have $100 a week for groceries, and anything that came out of that was like, okay, well, I guess, I have to put gas in the car. Okay, now my grocery bill's down to $80 this week. And, it was such a limited, lacking mindset at that time, but the information stage was free. Libraries are free. Going to networking events in most cases is free to build your connections with people. Going online on Facebook is free for the most part. You can go to the library, use the internet there if you don't even have access to internet at home. But like Laura was saying, information is only as good as, taking it in. You have to take action, and you have got to put that knowledge into action to create something great. And I love what you're saying about just going up and asking, because, it takes me back to when I used to actually go out into in-person networking events before COVID happened. And there would be people that would, be CEOs of the companies, or like these big, like Fortune 500 companies. And I would just walk up to them and say, how are you? My name is Jacob. How can we help each other?
Exactly.
And, everyone was afraid to go to this person in the room because of their status. But I'm always the person to say, okay, I've learned how to network. I'm going to go meet I'm doing air quotes, the most important person in this room, and make a connection. Because once you do that, doors open. So literally just go out and ask for it. And the worst thing they say is no. And from that point, you're no worse off than when you started.
Only now you've made a micro connection.
Yes,
like
exactly.
You had that conversation. They know your face. I use a similar method. I want to cover two things. When I'm at an event and there are speakers, whether I'm speaking or not, I sit front row center or wherever they're going to be standing speaking, because they're the person in the room that I want to talk to afterwards. And if I'm the person in the audience that is smiling, nodding, like engaging fully with their talk, we already have a connection, and we haven't even talked yet. The second thing I wanted to mention is, during networking events, I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't care who you are. I will go up and talk to you. I don't pretend. I act as though everybody is already my friend.
Yeah.
And then I just adjust the relationship afterwards.
Exactly.
So when we're networking, instead of going in thinking that, oh my God, Jacob might be my next client, how do I approach him? What am I going to say? No. Pretend everybody in that room knows your next client. It could be today. It could be 20 years from now. You don't know. So instead of treating them as your future client, treat them as your future referral. Like they're referring client to you. So you always want to just build bridges with people instead of burn them.
Yes, exactly.
or make them rocky foundations.
Yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you. Marry me? No.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like networking events are such a great place to be. Like, even if you're not in business, I would say just go out to a few once you can, just to get a feel for the environment, because you never know who somebody else is going to know. And that's what I found going through my networking events. Don't go in there with the intention of trying to close a sale, because that's not what networking events are for. Networking events are, the purpose of them is to help build your connection database. Right. And your referral database. And the best thing you can do to help someone is offer them a client. Right. Like if you know someone who can help their business, help them, because, send them over, be like, hey, I know this person. It's great to meet you last night. Laura, I know this person. Her name is Paula. I think you would do great on her podcast. Then you're creating. I know. That's why I brought it up. So I think, for people, in order to kind of push themselves, I think the comfort zone is a huge place that you have to step out of. And once you step out of that comfort zone and just do it and start taking the action, you're going to make, your life you're going to need a telescope to look back at your life in a year. Because if you just keep pushing that comfort zone boundary, and I'm using my hand to kind of push it out, if you keep pushing it out and out and out, it's going to get farther and farther away. And the more your comfort zone begins to expand. And as it expands, you grow as a person. Now, Laura, I'm going to change up the conversation just a little bit here, just because you said you loved cosplay in your bio. And I'm a huge fan of anime as well. Like I love anime, love video games. Love all that kind of stuff, like Dungeons and Dragons. Like it's one of my favorite games to play.
Is it
So
really?
it is. I
We're
always
playing
play.
2 campaigns right now.
Nice. That's so
Yeah.
exciting. I'm playing 2 campaigns as well. One, I'm playing a fighter. The other, I'm playing a sorcerer, which is amazing. I love
Ooh,
playing caster classes.
I'm an
Um,
alchemist right now
oh,
because it's a
that's so
no
cool.
magic campaign or low magic. So I'm like, can I just be an alchemist where it kind of looks like magic, but it's actually just science?
Yeah,
It's quite fun.
I know. Such a cool character. I should actually make one as a backup. So
Yeah,
if you could cosplay anyone, like from any
I already
anime,
know.
from any video game, who would it be and why?
Aloy. Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn.
Nice. I
Definitely.
haven't seen that one, but I've heard good things about it.
My God, I am one of those people for sure that buys because of the cover. That is how, okay. I have a tattoo on my back that is a rose, and in the petals it spells love. And my
Nice.
daughter is named after one of the characters in the book because I used to only read Archie comics and Nancy Drew and anything that was forced upon me in school. Like I hated it because it was always forced and I didn't like what they
Yeah.
wanted me to read. So I went to the bookstore afterwards and I was in the fantasy section. Yay, nerd, science, sci-fi, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I want one where there's a woman as the main character because it's rare. And I saw this book and it was a woman and she didn't have a sword in her hand. Instead, she had a dress on. It was like a backless dress. So you see her from the back. And I'm like, oh, what kind of woman without a sword is a main character in a book? So I picked it up and I realized she's very emotionally and mentally strong. That
Nice.
is her power. And I went, oh my God, I need to read this book. So I read the back and there were like 3 or 4 words that I didn't understand. I had to ask my husband who was standing next to me. I'm like, what do these mean? And I knew it was difficult, which is exactly what I wanted. And it was full of politics and things that I don't understand and I didn't like history. I'm like, okay, I need this book. It taught me so much about love, all different types of love. It's
Nice.
been described as Game of Thrones meets 50 Shades of Grey.
That's
Only,
an
ooh,
interesting combo.
I know, I know. My husband has read the series more times than I have, and I have to give a shout out. The series is called Kushal's Legacy by Jacqueline Carey. So if you want to look it up, she's a wonderful woman. I got her to come to our local sci-fi convention called HalCon, and I got her to sign the book with my daughter on the front. So I'm super
Nice.
excited.
That's
Yeah.
so exciting. It's so cool when you get to finally like meet those people, right?
Yeah.
Like when you get to meet those people, because it's like, you know what? Like I think like everyone on earth is so like unique, right? Like, and like it's just the things that other people do. Like for you, like meeting that person's really inspiring to you, right? Like for me, if I met Matt Mercer, I'd be like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
holy, like teach me your skills. Like you are the
Yeah.
best like DM I've ever seen. Like it's crazy. And you know, it's just having that kind of uniqueness is so cool. And like I'm gonna check out that series and I
Yeah.
might
So
give it a
right,
read.
I did the same thing to Horizon. I looked at the cover and I go, I know I like games where I can explore because I'm a very curious person. That's how I can connect and be courageous so easily, is I'm very curious instead of judgmental. So I'm looking at the cover and it's got this beautiful landscape and it kind of looks like it's from the past. But at the same time, you see these mechanical creatures and this
Mhm.
tribal looking lady who's also a redhead. So duh, love her already. And I went, this looks cool. I don't know anything about it. Let's get this one. So I bought it and I would play it till about 3 o'clock in the morning before I realized what time it was because I was busy exploring. And she's
Yeah.
also like that badass person who's so mentally strong and emotionally strong, but yet she also has a sword and a bow and all these other cool things. I'm like, she is a badass. I want to be Aloy when I grow up.
Yeah, I'm just looking at pictures on my off screen here and it looks like a really cool game. And like I love
Really?
like
Oh,
I think
story
I might
so
actually have it on my computer, but I've just never played it. Um, but my goodness, it looks epic. So if anyone's listening, I would
yeah,
suggest checking it out if you're
yeah.
if you're a gamer like us.
Oh, very
Um,
much so.
That's really cool. Now, one other thing, which kind of segues from that, is you're someone who said that you love to hike.
You.
So what do you find is like so exciting about hiking? Because like I love hiking too, but like I like
Yeah.
it because like it's a good connection with nature, and that's kind of like my Zen zone.
Yeah.
So what about for you? Like what's so enjoyable about hiking for you?
That starts from my childhood. So I grew up in the country and my dad is a hunter. I've always gone hunting with him. So we would follow the deer trails in the woods. Not the normal trails and the ATV trails. No. We would follow deer trails. So I learned at a very young age directions and that kind of stuff. So I felt comfortable in such spaces. But as I aged, like I found myself when I was not feeling so great and needing some space to just express myself, I would go into the woods. I would just walk and follow the deer trails for hours with headphones on, like blaring music, singing loudly any sort of powerful song that I loved. And then I would shut it off and I would just be with my emotions in nature so that I could
Nice.
reconnect with myself and reconnect with Mother Nature. It
Nice.
just was so grounding
Mm-hmm.
that that was my safe space. So when I go hiking, it's also the physical challenge to go with it. I can explore. I can have the physical challenge of like climbing rocks or trees or anything that I want. We have a snack rock that's probably about 4 feet in the air. And like all three of us climb up on top of it and eat a snack because it's about a 45-minute hike in. Yeah,
Wow,
lots of
that's
fun.
crazy. So kind of getting back into the show here a little bit more, like who would you say or what would you say inspires you the most? So like what's kind of like what gets you up in the morning to say like this is inspiring me today?
Knowing that I have been through some of the stuff that people I adore are going through. Like during the pandemic, the thing that kept me going was right before the beginning of it, solopreneurs had come up to me and said, "We don't like these small business events. We don't feel seen. We don't feel heard. Like, why are we here?" There's about 10% of each session where we take a couple notes and then we have to sift through it when we get home. I was like, I got you. I don't know how to plan an event. I have no idea how to do that. I'm usually on the other side. But for you, I love you so much. I'm going to figure out how to do this because I need you to show up for other people like past me.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that I have that power within me to help other people who need it, every time I remind myself, this event that I put on that's super scary and overwhelming and full of fear, I worked through all that because I needed solopreneurs to show up. And I watched them show up and I watched them change their social media and how they came in with more courage. And then I inspired myself to shift my whole business to doing that instead of like, let's just do mental health and healing and talk about stories. Now it's like, now I'm niche down. This is what I do. This is what I'm awesome at. Enough trying to do all these things that I'm supposed to do, air quotes, and just be fully authentically me. I've always connected like naturally. So what was I doing that I wasn't doing? And I started doing again.
I love that. And I feel like for most solopreneurs or for anyone who's really looking to get into, entrepreneurship, sometimes the easiest answer is just right there in front of you. Like stop trying to do what everyone else is doing because number one, it's already been done. Number two, bring your authentic self toward the front. Praise yourself. Say like today, I'm grateful that I'm here and starting my own business. Because the only person who can launch it, make it successful is you. If you're here and you say, I have an idea that can change the world, then go out and use that idea and put it into action. Like Laura said, get that coach to help you overcome that depression that might come through, or that will almost certainly come through, because I don't know one solopreneur that hasn't gone through those thoughts of saying, I don't know if I can make this happen. I don't know if I'm good enough to make this happen. But the ones who succeed are the ones who push through that, who get the coaching, who get the help, who ask for help, and who go out and get it. So
Yeah.
if you're someone who's looking to get started, reach out to Laura, reach out to me, reach out to someone that you trust and just talk through it. I think that's so important. So important for you to take that first step, get out of that information grabbing point and start putting that information into action. And I think with that, you will create something that you've never dreamed of, and you will need that telescope to look back on your life. Now, Laura, as we kind of end out here, if you could send one message to all of humanity right now, and everyone in the entire world is listening, can hear you, can understand you, what would it be?
I know exactly what it would be. So my message, I'm going to look straight into the camera for those actually watching. The message that I have for you is that you need to show up as the version of you that old you needed in their darkest moment. And if that brings up hurt in you, that's exactly what you need to heal. And that's exactly what you need to talk about. And that's exactly how you need to express yourself through your skills. So
I love that.
Be the you that old version of you needed in their darkest moment.
Oh, I love that. And I know that's going to resonate with some people. Like I have chills right now. Like that just,
I'm like,
it's
don't
just
cry.
Do that soul work, people, and, make it happen. Laura, do you want to tell the people where they can find you if they want to connect with you?
Definitely. I am all over social media. Okay, not all of it. You can go to my website, Laura Starts with B, whole other conversation for another day. My favorite place to be is on my Facebook page. So it's facebook.com/Laura Lake Designs with an S. And everywhere else it's just at Laura Lake SD.
Amazing. And I will put links to that in the show notes below so you can just easily find it in case you missed it. Laura, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you. I think honestly that you've inspired some people listening to this, if not all of the people listening to this. I know you've inspired me, and I'm so glad that we made the connection during the 5-day Rock Your Social Challenge. This is a really cool friendship that we're developing, and I'm so happy that I had you on the show. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I can't wait to make some mindfulness videos with you.
I know. I'm super pumped for that. Okay, everyone, until the next episode, have a great day, stay inspired, and keep being your authentic you. See you in the next episode.